The political arena was set ablaze as Representative Jasmine Crockett delivered a scathing takedown of Speaker Mike Johnson in a high-stakes $4 billion showdown that left the nation in awe. The fiery exchange, which unfolded during a heated congressional session, showcased Crockett's unrelenting wit and strategic prowess as she dismantled Johnson's arguments piece by piece. With every word, she exposed glaring inconsistencies in his stance, leaving him scrambling for a coherent response. The confrontation, which quickly went viral, was hailed as a masterclass in political debate, with Crockett emerging as a formidable force. Americans across the political spectrum were stunned by her ability to hold Johnson accountable, turning the tide of public opinion in her favor. The $4 billion showdown centered on a contentious budget proposal championed by Speaker Johnson, which Crockett argued would disproportionately harm marginalized communities. With meticulous precision, she laid bare the hidden ramifications of the bill, citing data and expert testimony to bolster her claims. Johnson, caught off guard by her preparedness, struggled to counter her points, his rebuttals falling flat under the weight of her evidence. Crockett's delivery was both passionate and calculated, her words resonating with viewers who saw her as a champion for the underserved. The clash was more than just a policy debate, it was a defining moment that underscored the growing influence of progressive voices in Congress. As Crockett continued her relentless critique, Johnson's demeanor shifted from confidence to visible frustration. His attempts to interrupt her were met with sharp retorts as she refused to yield the floor. The American people deserve transparency, not empty promises, she declared, her voice cutting through the chamber like a knife. The audience, both in person and online, erupted in applause, recognizing the significance of her words. Johnson's allies tried to come to his aid, but Crockett's momentum was unstoppable. The showdown became a symbol of the broader ideological battle raging within the halls of power, with Crockett leading the charge for accountability. Social media exploded with reactions to Crockett's blistering takedown, with hashtags like #Crockett, SLAYS, and #Johnson exposed trending within minutes. Clips of her most pointed remarks were shared millions of times, drawing praise from activists, celebrities, and even some conservative commentators who admired her tenacity. Meanwhile, Johnson's team scrambled to contain the fallout, releasing a tepid statement defending his position. But the damage was done. Crockett had seized the narrative, and the public was firmly on her side. The showdown wasn't just a victory for her. It was a wake-up call for politicians who underestimate the power of a well-prepared, fearless advocate. Behind the scenes, sources revealed that Crockett had spent weeks preparing for this moment, studying every detail of Johnson's proposal and anticipating his defenses. Her staff described late-night strategy sessions and mock debates to ensure she was ready for anything. This level of dedication shone through in her performance as she effortlessly countered Johnson's talking points. The showdown was a testament to her work ethic and commitment to her constituents. For many, it was a reminder that real change requires more than just passionate demands, preparation, precision, and the courage to confront power head-on. The $4 billion at stake in the showdown represented critical funding for healthcare, education, and infrastructure issues, Crockett argued, were non-negotiable. She painted Johnson's proposal as a thinly veiled attempt to slash vital programs under the guise of fiscal responsibility. "You can't balance the budget on the backs of the poor," she asserted, her words striking a chord with millions. Johnson's rebuttals, which leaned on vague promises of long-term savings, failed to sway the audience. Crockett's ability to connect the policy to real-life consequences made her arguments impossible to ignore. The showdown wasn't just about numbers, it was about people. As the debate raged on, Crockett's allies in Congress rallied behind her, amplifying her message and adding their own critiques of Johnson's plan. The unity among progressive lawmakers was palpable, a stark contrast to the disarray on the other side of the aisle. Johnson, usually a skilled orator, found himself outmaneuvered at every turn. Crockett's strategic use of humor and sarcasm further disarmed him, leaving the audience laughing at his expense. The showdown became less of a debate and more of a public dismantling, with Crockett firmly in control. Political analysts were quick to dissect the showdown, with many calling it a turning point in Crockett's career. Her ability to command the national spotlight and deliver a knockout performance signaled her rise as a leading voice in the Democratic Party. Johnson, on the other hand, faced mounting criticism from within his own ranks, with some questioning his leadership. The $4 billion showdown was more than a policy dispute, it was a battle of wits, and Crockett had emerged victorious, a fallout that would undoubtedly shape the political landscape for months to come. For everyday Americans, the showdown was a rare glimpse into the inner workings of power and a reminder of the importance of holding leaders accountable. Crockett's fearless approach inspired countless viewers, particularly young women and people of color who saw themselves reflected in her defiance. "She didn't just speak for us, she fought for us," one viewer tweeted. Johnson's inability to match her intensity only highlighted the growing demand for leaders who prioritize substance over spin. The showdown was a wake-up call for a nation hungry for authenticity in politics. In the days following the showdown, Crockett's popularity soared, with fundraising numbers breaking records and her team fielding interview requests from major networks. Johnson, meanwhile, faced calls to reconsider his proposal, with even some Republicans urging him to backtrack. The $4 billion showdown had achieved what many thought impossible. It had shifted the Overton window, making progressive solutions seem not just viable, but necessary. Crockett's mastery of the moment proved that bold, unapologetic advocacy could move the needle in Washington. The showdown also reignited conversations about representation in politics, with Crockett's presence as a black woman in a position of power challenging long-standing norms, her ability to command respect and dismantle her opponent's arguments. Without hesitation, sent a powerful message about who belongs in leadership. Johnson, a seasoned politician, was unaccustomed to being challenged so effectively, and his discomfort was evident. For marginalized communities, Crockett's performance was a validation of their struggles and a call to action for greater inclusion. As the dust settled, pundits debated whether the showdown would have lasting implications or fade as a viral moment. But Crockett's team was already capitalizing on the momentum, using the attention to push for broader legislative changes. The $4 billion battle had become a rallying cry for progressives who saw it as proof that their message was resonating. Johnson's allies, meanwhile, downplayed the event, calling it a stunt, but the public wasn't buying it. Crockett. It struck a chord, and the reverberations would be felt far beyond that single debate. The showdown also highlighted the power of media in shaping political narratives. Crockett's clips dominated news cycles, while Johnson's team struggled to regain control of the story. Cable networks replayed the most explosive moments, with commentators dissecting her rhetorical strategies. Late-night shows even featured parodies of the exchange, further cementing Crockett's victory in the public consciousness. In an era where optics often outweigh substance, Crockett proved that substance, and delivered with skill, could still win the day. For Crockett, the showdown was the culmination of years of advocacy and grassroots organizing. Her rise from local politics to the national stage was a testament to her unwavering commitment to justice. Johnson, by contrast, represented the old guard, a symbol of entrenched power resistant to change. The clash between the two was emblematic of a larger generational and ideological shift happening across the country. Crockett's triumph was a sign that the future of politics might look very different from its past. The $4 billion showdown also exposed fissures within the Republican Party. Some members quietly expressed frustration with Johnson's handling of the debate. Moderates feared his misstep would alienate swing voters, while hardliners doubled down on their support. Crockett, meanwhile, was celebrated as a unifying figure for the left, her performance galvanizing a coalition of progressives, moderates, and even some disillusioned conservatives. The political fallout was a reminder that in today's polarized climate, authenticity and competence could bridge divides. In the weeks that followed, Crockett's team leveraged the showdown to advance her legislative agenda, introducing new bills aimed at addressing the very issues she had championed during the debate. Johnson, scrambling to recover, attempted to rebrand his proposal, but the damage to his credibility was done. Polls showed a sharp decline in public trust for his leadership, while Crockett's approval ratings skyrocketed. The showdown had not only shifted the debate, had reshaped the political chessboard. The showdown also sparked a broader conversation about the role of women in politics, particularly women of color, who are often held to higher standards than their male counterparts. Crockett's ability to dominate the debate without conforming to traditional expectations of decorum was a rebuke of those double standards. Johnson, accustomed to a certain level of deference, seemed unprepared for her refusal to play by the old rules. For many, the moment was a long overdue correction in the balance of power. As Crockett's star continued to rise, speculation grew about her future ambitions. Some floated her name as a potential vice presidential candidate, while others urged her to consider a Senate run. Whatever her next move, the $4 billion showdown had cemented her reputation as a force to be reckoned with. Johnson, meanwhile, faced mounting pressure to step down from leadership, with whispers of a potential challenger growing louder. The political tides were turning, and Crockett was riding the wave. The showdown also had international ramifications, as foreign leaders took note of Crockett's ascendancy. Her ability to articulate a bold, progressive vision resonated globally, offering a counterpoint to the off-and-dour state of American politics. Johnson, by contrast, became a cautionary tale about the perils of underestimating one's opponent. The event was a reminder that in the age of instant communication, political missteps could have far-reaching consequences. For historians, a $4 billion showdown was a case study in the power of rhetoric and preparation. Crockett's meticulous research and flawless delivery were contrasted with Johnson's reliance on tired talking points. The debate would likely be studied for years to come as an example of how to effectively challenge authority. Crockett's performance was a masterclass in political persuasion, proving that facts, when wielded with skill, could be a potent weapon. The showdown also underscored the importance of civic engagement, as millions of Americans who had tuned in left with a renewed sense of agency. Crockett's ability to hold power accountable inspired viewers to get involved, whether through voting, activism, or running for office themselves. Johnson's stumble, meanwhile, served as a warning to politicians who had grown complacent. The event was a reminder that, in a democracy, the people ultimately hold the power. As the media frenzy continued, Crockett remained focused on the work, refusing to let the moment distract her from her mission. "This wasn't about me," she told reporters. "It was about the people we serve." Her humility only deepened the public's admiration as Johnson's team continued to flounder in damage control. The contrast between the two couldn't have been starker: one, a leader for the people; the other, a politician scrambling to save face. The $4 billion showdown also had economic implications as markets reacted to the potential shift in policy direction. Investors, sensing the growing influence of progressive ideals, began to adjust their strategies. Johnson's allies in the corporate world expressed concern, while grassroots organizations celebrated Crockett's victory as a win for economic justice. The debate was a reminder that politics and economics are inextricably linked, and that bold leadership could reshape both in the end. The showdown was about more than just a single policy debate. It was a microcosm of the larger struggle for the soul of the nation. Crockett represented a future where equity and justice were paramount, while Johnson embodied a status quo resistant to change. The American people, stunned by her brilliance, were left to ponder which vision they preferred. One thing was certain: the political landscape would never be the same. As the nation reflected on the $4 billion showdown, one message rang clear: Jasmine Crockett had arrived, and she was here to stay. Her obliteration of Mike Johnson wasn't just a viral moment hit, it was a declaration that a new era of leadership had begun. For Americans weary of empty promises and partisan gridlock, Crockett offered something rare: hope. And in a political climate often defined by cynicism, that was perhaps her most powerful victory of all.